kids who come from a disadvantaged backgrounds, they get told you can't do that, you can't do that, you're bad at this, you're bad at this, you're bad at mathematics, and you can't even speak German well. So they get put down so much that it's very difficult for them to find their wings and to find what they're great at. And you don't know, maybe they would be a perfect graphic designer. That is the most devastating thing. A 13-year-old that tells you, I'm not good at anything.
Where do you think we can break this cycle of inequality?
There are studies that say that around 70% of our knowledge, of our skills, are gained in the informal context. So only 30%, as the statistics say, is gained in school.
When did you personally realize that this is a huge problem?
Actually, one of the kids stayed on a Friday in my afternoon lesson, and she begged me to stay. And she looked at me with these big eyes, and I remember them to this day. I can't afford that. How should my family pay for that?
How did you build Hobby Lobby? How did it start?
Slowly, it just shaped itself into this tiny project. Today, we accompany 4,000 children a year.
Wow.
So, and we change a bit of their lives. And I think there is so much potential. The demand is huge. At the moment, we have like 1,000 kids on the waiting list every semester.
Also doing such a fulfilling thing.
Yeah, if you have the opportunity to do something that is both fulfilling for you and maybe a great business idea, I don't know, but can also have a societal impact. Yeah. I think that way more businesses should be formed like that.
Welcome to a new episode of Once Upon a Student, a place where we uncover the untold stories of extraordinary individuals. Today's guest is Rosa Bergmann. We like to believe school creates equal opportunities. But what happens after the school bell rings often decides everything. Rosa Bergmann started early in a classroom and turned into a system that's now impacting thousands of kids across Europe, from Teach For Austria to building Hobby Lobby, to being nominated Austrian of the Year. Rosa's impact is undeniable. Welcome to Once Upon a Student.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy that you are my guest today because I think what you have to say is very important. And that's why I'm also very curious, where do you think inequality actually begins?
That's a tough question to start with, but I think inequality actually is built way before you're born. So inequality is inherited, it comes from your families. It goes on over a lifetime, usually, if you don't break that pattern early enough, and if you haven't the opportunity to get dragged out of what you came from, for example, or the injustice that you received maybe already as a baby, maybe already as your mom was pregnant with you, maybe way before. It's systematic, I would say, and it starts quite early, or as I mentioned, years before. And it's very strongly inherited in Austria, for example. Educational injustice is inherited from families before. When you, for example, when your parents have a master's degree or have an academic background, it's way easier for you as a child to also walk that path. And if your parents, for example, only have a high school degree, for example, or even less, then your path is also, almost made into a direction, or the possibilities is quite slim to I don't know, study at university, for example. So it's very much right from the beginning, I would say.
Get that, and you spoke about breaking out of that cycle.
Yeah.
Where do you think we can break this cycle of inequality?
I think we can break it in schools, of course, as you mentioned. Schools are part of that, but not only in schools. There are studies that say that around 70% of our knowledge, of our skills, are gained in the informal context. So from families, afternoon education, leisure time, friends, the network you have around yourself. So only 30%, as the statistics say, is gained in school. So of course, just school system is great. A school system that breaks down barriers is great. Education for free is one of those moments where you can, of course, have an impact. But also outside of the school system, there's a big possibility to change that. Yeah.
So we overestimate how much of an impact school has, because I mean, these things that you do after school is basically that what shapes you then.
I think it's what shapes you, and it's also what in Austria and in other countries, it's quite underrated so far. So it's like in Austria, for example, we have like this 14 weeks of holidays. Yeah. 14 weeks out of 52 are holidays. When you count the weekends, when you count the afternoons, where a lot of kids are home, actually, you gain up to 70% of the waking hours of a child that they don't spend at school. So also the time frame where kids are in school or in kindergarten is quite limited. So of course, those hours mean up to something. And if your family can't afford, for example, leisure activities, or if your family can't afford tutoring, or if your family, for example, doesn't speak the language well enough to support with homework, or then it gets tough. So we totally overestimate what a teacher or what school can provide for those children. I think every teacher, every school tries to fix those problems and those inequalities, and Austria's the school system tries, I think, to make those barriers less, at least. But I think there is so much that we don't see, so much that happens in the families, in the communities, in the free time, that creates also barriers in a way.
I get that. I mean, every teacher has like 3 to 4 hours per week with a child, so he can also, and he has like 30 children in his class, he or she. So it's
it's difficult, I would say, and of course they do as much as they can, but there's also a lot of pressure putting into a teacher's role. For example, I was a teacher for 3 years, and I wasn't only a teacher, I was a parent, I was a teacher, I was a social worker, I was a nurse sometimes, I was a mental health coach, I was so many things, I was a friend. There are so many roles that teachers have to have today. I think you can you can't live up to that expectation any longer. And the world is changing. We live in a world full of crisis, full of new things, AI, war, so many things are happening right now to the children. So many changes, the world became so fast. It's really tough for, someone who has maybe taught for years and is used to a certain teaching style, to a certain world. How should they develop with all of these rapid changes? It's just challenging, I would say. And it's also unfair to put that all into the responsibility of a school. Yeah. So that is tough. And then again, we have a very unjust school system as well, because we have the middle schools and gymnasium. All of the children with like migrant backgrounds get stuck into the middle schools because they say the German is not well enough for gymnasium, for example. So we split already at 10. That is a huge problem for our society, because then we already divide into the bad students and the good students. The bad only sent to middle school, especially in urban areas where middle school, like at the countryside, middle school is maybe more mixed from socioeconomic backgrounds, for example. But in Vienna, for example, there's the middle schools, then there are the very problematic middle schools, and of course the gymnasiums, and everyone pushes for a gymnasium, and the middle schools have more troubles with their students, with a diverse group. Also, it's the challenges add up, I would say, and
I believe so. Then I had a very interesting conversation yesterday with a father of children, and he told me that he knows a lot of teachers, university professors, and the funny thing is, the university professors say yeah, but those students, they come already like this out of gymnasium or middle school, you know. And when you ask teachers, they say, yeah, but you know, those children come like this out of high school.
Of primary school, of kindergarten.
Exactly,
yeah.
and the responsibility is like all the time
yeah.
given like back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And I mean, somewhere we also have to take the responsibility over this part,
Yeah, but who should take the responsibility?
Exactly, yeah.
That's the question.
Because everyone is a little bit responsible for a huge picture.
Yeah, and also the starting point is just so unfairly distributed because when I have access to, I don't know, 100 books, because I can pay for 100 books, or I know that going to the library with my child, which is for free, is a great responsibility and is a great way to nurturing my child and to provide those tiny humans with words, with stories, with language. Of course, they have a better start because already in kindergarten at 3, my daughter speaks fluently German already because she gets read to. She talks a lot with me and my husband, her grandmother, all of the system. And then you have other children at the same age that barely speak because, there isn't a huge amount of books at home, for example. And there isn't a parent who is around because, I don't know, the parents have to work full time because they work in a job that is less paid than, you know, it adds up so early and it continues until probably they're old, but it continues at least until the 14, 15, where there is just this vulnerable age pathway or life pathway, where you need to have constant help, support, programs to break those patterns down and to support some more with additional opportunities.
We sometimes totally underestimate how privileged we become. Because now when you talk about it, because not many people know about it, but I was never in kindergarten because my mom said, hey, I want to be the first years of part of his life. And I was reading so well. I was speaking 2 languages when I was already 4 years old. And I think that gave me such a head start. Then into school, it was... Now I see the bigger picture.
Yeah, but that is probably because your mom could support you in the right way. Yeah. For other children, kindergarten would be the best opportunity, and they are not sent to kindergarten, but instead they are home with a lot of siblings, for example, and the parents don't have the opportunity. For example, if you're unemployed, you don't have a fixed kindergarten spot. For example, you're not allowed to.
Really? I didn't know about it.
If you haven't 2 parents working full-time, for example, your rights for kindergarten or your chances on a kindergarten spot are way limited. So, also the hours. So it's very complicated. And probably a child who's at home that can also be a start of inequalities, for example. Smartphone. How often do you walk around in a bus and see a tiny human being, a year old, 2 years old, with the phone glued to within the stroller, where I'm like, no screens before 3, no screens before 3, no screens at all. Just don't give children any screens until they're 15. I don't know. That does something to the development of a child and to the.
I get it because the time frame, the attention span of the children is also going down. You can see that the younger generations, without taking any blame, and
it decreases rapidly, and it's just insane. And also, I noticed that in school, but I noticed that from the Hobby Lobby kids as well. They come with their phone glued to their faces. They take them down. They make an hour of pottery lessons, chess. I don't know, whatever we do, basketball. And then they leave and they are back again with their phones in their hands. And it's very problematic. And I talk about that a lot. I think like we need a solution for all the challenges that our children are facing. And we need to spend time with them. And we need to, have role models, have people that trust persons, reference persons that look after them and as many as possible. You know the saying, we need a village to raise a child. We don't have that village any longer. It's mostly the the small family, mother, father, mother, father, father, however the concept is, but like the parents and the child, you're very happy if you have grandparents around. But those community aspects of growing up, that is no longer the picture. And therefore, we need responsibilities and we need opportunities. And when school bells ring at 12 or 12:30, and the kid at 7 goes home, then the phone is the only help because the parents should work. What do you do then? So we need options, and we need that village, I would say.
I totally get that. And when did you personally realize that this is a huge problem? Because you studied business and economics. So.
Yeah, I studied economics. Then I made like my pathway wasn't straight ahead. I was like this. I did fashion school. I graduated from fashion school. Then I did economics at the university here, and then actually I discovered Teach For Austria. Teach For Austria is a great program where you can, as an academic or with a certain job or with certain expertise, go into a teaching program for 2 years. It's a leadership program for university alumni, and then you actually get put into a middle school for 2 years and you teach. Actually, that's when I discovered that problem, and that's when I realized how privileged I was a child, because I had dancing lessons, I learned how to play a piano, I had soccer practice, I went to a choir, my parents showed me how to draw, they read to me, so I was in that case, very privileged child. And when I started teaching in that middle school at the outskirts of Vienna, I met children that came happily from holidays because they said, finally, it's school again. And they said, oh my God, I hated the weekend, I barely did anything. Or actually, one of the kids stayed on a Friday in my afternoon lesson, which was only like, sit and do your homework, please. And she begged me to stay. And I was like, oh my God, please do something with your life. Go and take a pottery lesson. I don't know, you're so creative. Do something. And she looked at me with this big eyes, and I remember them to this day. I can't afford that. How should my family pay for that? And then something clicked because I realized, yes, how expensive are these courses? How much had my parents to pay for those classes? And then I realized that basically all of my students, because the incomes of their families are lower and they don't have the same opportunity, or they have 6 siblings and you can't pay 200 euros for each for just a soccer lesson once a week. So I just then realized that is also very unfair, and that there is so much that I gained from those experiences in my childhood, and I wanted them to have those. And that's when we actually started with the Hobby program as a really tiny project, and tried to change that problem.
And how did it feel that when you had your first class, when you were coming out of, you studied business economics, and then you go into the first class? How did it feel? Did you feel overwhelming, grateful? What was the feeling like?
It felt right. It felt like I was where I belonged. I don't know. I never wanted to become a teacher, actually. Everyone always told me, you would be such a great teacher. And I was like, please don't. My father's a teacher. My grandmother is a teacher. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't know. And I hadn't had the best. I had great teachers, but I had also not so great teachers, to put it like that. And I was shaped by them, and I never wanted. I also feared the role, I think, a bit, because I didn't want to have a negative impact on children. I wanted to be a positive impact. But then I realized I could be that positive impact for them. I could be that teacher that tells them you can do anything you want, and you don't have to be exceptional in math. I actually had mathematics and physics to teach, and it wasn't. It wasn't the easiest for me because, I think what I could do there is to say it's okay to be not brilliant at this, because you have something and you will figure it out during your life where you're brilliant at. And for me, it's also not mathematics, even though I teach it now, but it's something different. But every child is exceptional in a way, and if they are if they are fulfilled with something, and if they feel like this is what I can do great, or if this is what interests me a lot, then they will be superstars at it, and they just have to find what it is. And I just talked with a friend the other day, and we both grew up very privileged, we would say, and she was like, I hated mathematics, I was so bad at mathematics, and I don't need mathematics in my day life. A lot of people will disagree with that, but that's okay as well. But she came out of school without any problems. She graduated without any problems because she had support from her families and tutoring and whatever. So she had support. Then she did something totally different. I think she studied social labor. And so she did something that was the total opposite of what she hated. But it didn't matter so much, because she was supported in a way that she could find her career path, and she could find what she was amazing in, and now she has a great life and she's totally happy. But kids who come from a disadvantaged backgrounds, they get told you can't do that, you can't do that, you're bad at this, you're bad at this, you're bad at mathematics, and you can't even speak German well. So they get put down so much that it's very difficult for them to find their wings and to find what they're great at. And you don't know, maybe they would be a perfect graphic designer, or maybe they would be an amazing basketball player, or maybe they would be, I don't know, you have so many options. The world is big, there are jobs without end, but they are limited already so early in their life that they don't feel like they can get to those points. And they get, they take on this mindset that I'm not good enough, I can't do anything, I'm bad. Like, that is the most devastating thing. A 13-year-old that tells you, I'm not good at anything. And I saw that a lot. And I'm like, I want to shake this child, and you're not allowed to shake children, so I would never. But like, please, you're 13. When I was 13, I had no idea. I wanted to be a dancer. I don't know. And life changes a lot. But if you already have that mindset of, I can't do anything with 13, how should you thrive at 20? So you see, I get very emotional about all of that. But this is what triggers me so much, and this is what I feel like is unfair. And that was the moment where I realized I can make a difference in their life. And even if I'm not, and I love teaching, but like I hated the school system. We teach like it's 1950, it's the same classrooms, the same settings, the same chairs as of 1950, I feel like, with the same 50 minutes hour concept of German, and then mathematics, and then drawing, and like this is so not how teaching should look like at 26, in my opinion. So I needed it should look like totally different. It should schools should be learning places where they feel comfortable, where there is place to rest, and there's place to think, where there is an area where you can move, because some children thrive when they move their bodies, and then the brilliant idea comes into their minds. So a school should the buildings should look totally different. The teachers should be supporters and helping them to guide a way where they should feel like they want to learn more. Of course, they need some basic level of competencies in a lot of areas, but that can happen if they can, I don't know, choose the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, extracurricular things where they can build some additional competencies, for example.
It's actually so cool. We had that at our school.
Yeah?
We had always lessons until 2 p.m.
Yeah.
And afterwards we had to decide for ourselves what we want to do.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We, for example, had photography, we had graphic design.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is we could even do the matura in that.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was so cool.
Yeah, every school should be like that, and that's what we try with like Hobby Lobby, is the additional concept for the afternoon where they can come and they can choose photography, pottery, I don't know, science, Korean. We had Korean. We have very cool subjects with our teachers. So we try to build that outside, because I realized I cannot change the school system. And if I would be still in the school system, fighting the school system, I would probably be burnt out by now, because it's just not happening from the inside. Or I didn't see my big opportunity to make a whole 100-degree change of that, I would say. So
it's very difficult to get a voice.
Yeah, it's very even if you gain a voice, then it's one school. Not even one school, maybe four classes that you teach, then it's roughly 100 children. Yeah. And for me, that impact wasn't enough. I didn't want to change, I didn't realize back then, but I didn't want to change only the lives of 100 children. Today, we accompany 4,000 children a year.
Wow.
So, and we change a bit of their lives. And I think there is so much potential to even scale that impact some more, and to really make a difference. And at the moment, the topic is not heard at all. If you feel like if you go to the media and say, I have a story about informal education, everyone is like, what? Yeah. Sorry, no, not interesting.
It's only about war, it's about energy, it's about price inflation.
It's not even education. Education is already like the side project of everything. But
it's so important.
It's so important, and every person goes through education. Everyone is in school. Everyone is in kindergarten. Not everyone is in university, but there's so much potential in the sector of education, and there's so much potential in those 70% of your free time, of your waking time, that you're not in those institutions where you can learn. Learning isn't something that is made in the classroom. You learn everywhere you go. I learn from every mistake. I learn from every moment. I can learn in the shower if I want to, because your mind can take you anywhere, and you can remember stuff, and you can think of great ideas. I have the best ideas in the shower, actually, because that's my tiny holy space of free time for myself. But their learning shouldn't be only happening under pressure in a classroom when someone is telling you, and now you remember geography. So that's not how learning should look like. Yeah.
And how did you build Hobby Lobby? How did it start?
Maybe let's go back to that moment where my student looked at me with big eyes. That was, I think, March-ish in the first year of teaching, and then the thought grew on me a while. And then in June, when I had my summer break, my summer holidays, which is insane, it's 9 weeks, so no one needs so much time of holidays, but only my opinion. Then I had some time. I had some time to think about it some more, and I was so angry by that point about that injustice that I was like, I need to change that. I need to do something. That is not happening next year. I want something for my second year of teaching where this has changed. And then I wrote to the Teach For Austria. We have a group, a community. I wrote to them. I noticed that problem. Is it the same with your children? Has someone experienced that as well? And I got so many responses. I have the same issue. Why is it like that? As a kid, I loved holidays. I loved afternoons. What is happening? And then I found my co-founding team, and together we started to think, okay, how should it look like? We already had, I already came up with the concept of volunteers doing it, so it can be for free, and that we offer materials and the spaces, for example, so that the kids can just arrive and be there. And then we thought of a name. We actually had a tiny questionnaire with our students to see what they would need. And then slowly it just shaped itself into this tiny project. 7 courses. We found a spot in Favoriten in the 10th district. And we just offered the first 7 courses. And it was amazing. 100 kids came. It felt so different. It felt really... the other day I looked at pictures from that first phase. It was so, it was just it felt so right. It was so it was such a cozy space, and the kids loved. It was packed with kids. It was just a tiny room, and one picture I saw there were 20 kids street art. I did a street art class myself, and we had other volunteers who did other classes. And I remember the 20 kids in that street art class being happy with just spraying on paper, and yeah, it was really cool. And then we applied for the Social Impact Award, which was like the first. Someone from Teach For Austria, I think, told us about it, that this is that this would be a great opportunity because it's just for piloting projects, and we applied, and we got into that they have an accelerator with workshops and so on, and that was the first time when I came across how to finance a project, how to make it sustainable, all of the things that are important for actually starting an organization. At that point, I was nowhere near starting an organization. I was like, my mom is self-employed. I don't want to be self-employed. Leave me alone. This is a tiny project next to the school. But then we won that award in that year, and it was June. And my leadership, my fellowship just ended, and I had to decide, do I do another year of teaching? Do I continue with school? What should I do? And I had the feeling, we won an award, I saw that demand from the children, I saw the volunteers that were happy to help, and I was like, it's now or never. I'm so young, I can just try that out. And I quit my job, and I give myself half a year or a year. I did then I don't know how to say that in English. I was unemployed for a while, and I did the Gründungsprogramm, Founders Program, I think, from IMS. And I say, okay, a year later, if I'm June in a year, then Corona happened, and June a year later was very different than I expected. But if a year later I can build this in an organization and I can pay myself, then maybe this is worth a shot. June a year later, we had won the first other things. We had the first public funding. We had the first support from a foundation. So June a year later, it was COVID and everyone was on lockdown, but we had the opportunity to start an organization out of it.
What helped you make the decision?
I don't know. It was just... It sounds not evidence-based at all, but I just had a feeling that this is what I'm supposed to do.
You're a person that listens more to the gut?
I try not to be. I think I'm a brain and gut person. I very early on feel in my stomach if a decision is right or not, and so far my stomach or my gut has never not really disappointed me. Maybe once or twice, but I have a good gut feeling, I would say. But I try to reflect, because you have biases and everyone is biased, and when you want to, for example, hire someone, your gut says, hire the person that is almost like you. And I can't do that with a team of 30 people. So sometimes I need, almost all of the time, I don't need myself again. I need other people with other competencies. So I try to also discuss with my gut feeling, but with some decisions, I just know. Yeah, it's both, I would say. Yeah.
And how did it change? How did your support system change when COVID happened? Because you were responsible then for creating everything after the school. But when the school is in lockdown, how did you manage that?
Yeah, the first few weeks were tough. We did a lot of online classes with the children to just support them, because the situation was completely new to them anyway. But fortunately, it was the case that youth work was able to go back very early on, because everyone realized that children might be in crisis as well. So we had this testing, and ninja passes were like they had to test every day, and then they got the sticker, and then they could come. And we had a lot of masks, and but we could continue actually with what we did almost a few weeks later. So yeah, it wasn't that troubling actually. And what helped actually, I don't want to take anything good out of COVID, because like COVID was horrible for so many for so many people, and it was just a wild time, and so many people died, and of course it's like there's no good out of it. But people realized, everyone who is in in areas where they could make decisions, they had their children home, so they realized, oh my God, what do I do when there is no soccer lesson or pottery? Because people who pay for those activities quite easily are usually in decision-making spots. So someone who's in a power position isn't usually poor. So they have no problem paying for their children. But then they realized, the afternoon is a great opportunity for kids to learn something. And it helped me show them that if a child never has that, not during COVID, but in their life, then that is problematic. And also for the parents, for the families, but for the children themselves. And that helped me gain some funding. So actually, that's when people realized that the idea might be great and that it might be a good fit to do that as a support system.
And how did it switch feel for you? Because it started off as a social impact project. But when I listened to you, it turned more and more into a startup company, investors. How did it feel for you?
It just happened in a way. Like, it was just one step at a time. But going from the first phase, then coming into another accelerator program, building from a foundation that is great. Then I realized they do a lot of their work together with Ashoka and talk about systemic impact. And then everyone told me about, that's great what you do, but it's 100 kids at the moment. You said you wanted more impact than 100 kids. How do you scale your impact? And then I started thinking about how to scale your impact. And then I realized, okay, this can't, if that happens, if that works in Favoriten, why doesn't it work in Brigitte now? And then we started a second location in the 20th district. And then we were like, okay, if that can work in Vienna at 4 locations, why can't it work out in Tyrol as well? And so after months and months, people noticed us. People realized, that would be great in Lower Austria. So someone came and said, I want to open a hobby lobby in Lower Austria. So we started to build a concept on how to take this very simple idea that works with very low resources, because it's not expensive to have one full-time person, a few volunteers, and rent and a few materials, but it can make the investment in the project is little in comparison to the impact. The competence center for nonprofit organizations actually did a social return on investment study on our impact. And they found out that every euro invested has an impact, a societal impact of 21 euros 27 cents. So we not even double the investment, but we 21x. 21x. It's great. So so actually it obviously works. The demand is huge at the moment. We have 1,000 kids on the waiting list every semester. So if it works here, it might work anywhere.
Does it give you pressure to see all those people on the waiting list?
Yeah, of course. This pressure is my second name. Rosa Bergmann. I should maybe try a change of name. No, of course it's pressure. Also, fundraising our budget is pressure. Having a team of 30 people is pressure. Having 225 volunteers last semester is pressure. So pressure is all over. But then again, someone once said diamonds are formed under pressure. So maybe it's okay to feel that pressure. And I obviously learned how to deal with that pressure. In the beginning, it was tough. I also had some mental health challenges, and I sometimes still have them. But somehow I try to see this pressure, this stress that I sometimes feel, not all of the time, but that I sometimes feel, is maybe my burden for creating that impact. Because then again, I was nominated Austrian of the Year, and then you get some credit for that as well. So that also helps from time to time. You get if you get recognized for what you do, and if like a kid comes up and says, I just graduated high school and you helped me do it, and you're like, oh my God, this is wonderful. And so it's pressure, but it's also great to see the achievements and to see what works out for the children, and yeah.
And what helped you to cope with pressure?
Sparing, a lot of sparing with my team and with other people, mentors. And I also was in therapy for a while for panic attacks back then. And one thing that my therapist back then said to me quite helps me with like mostly all of it. What's the worst thing that can happen? And anytime I feel like, oh my God, if we don't get that funding application, oh my God, what happens when something bad happens? Oh my God. Then I go back to what's the worst thing that can happen? And yeah, the worst thing is we shut everything down. Okay, then we close 15 locations in 3 countries, but we still have impacted 17,000 spots for children of disadvantaged backgrounds, and we still had over 200 hours of childcare awarded to the children. So we still made an impact for a while. And by now I think we will not close because we're big enough to not, I don't know. We have a proof of concept.
Yeah, so. It's something you can be very proud of, honestly. And I spoke the other day with my mom about you, and I often speak about her with my guests. And when I told her about your idea, she told me that's amazing because you're also doing such a fulfilling thing. Not only like a business, but you really, you shape people. And I think this is one of the best things you can do while an entrepreneur. Yeah, I think it's what I want to do with my life. It's doing something that changes the world in a bit, and even if it's just a tiny world for one kid, it doesn't matter if you have the opportunity to do something that is both fulfilling for you and maybe a great business idea, I don't know, but can also have a societal impact. Yeah. I think that way more businesses should be formed like that because we face so many crises right now. So we need bold ideas for, I don't know, climate change, education, poverty. There are so many things, peace. Do you think we have built in Austria a system that supports courageous people? Because I've talked with many founders about it, and most of the people say, the more ambitious you are, the more you struggle in Austria.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the ecosystem for social impact startups is quite well established. It's not huge, and of course I would wish for more public support and for more governmental regulamentations for non-profits, for example, because we have legal entities, for example. An association doesn't really fit, a GmbH doesn't really fit, so what fits? So we could do some improvements, but there are so many people in the sector that trying to push for new regulations, for new ways to build social businesses and social non-profit organizations, for example. Yeah, that I think if you have the support from them, that is already great, I would say. But of course, you can always do better. And I sometimes feel like you only count or you're only valid if you have a business and you sell something. And I see so many businesses super scale and die a few years later or going bankrupt. So why is that more value than building a non-profit that sustains and is growing organically and is growing sustainable and changes a lot of things for a lot of children? It's always like I'm always the nice addition. It's always like nice project that you got. Excuse me, I have a 2 million annual budget and I have 30 employees. Can we talk again about how I'm not a businesswoman? It's not a social project. I'm an entrepreneur. And I feel like sometimes in Austria, that mindset is a bit...
I think people have a different picture of NGOs, non-profit organizations. I have the feeling most of the people think it's like an organization. Yeah, everyone comes together and we do a little project together. But what you're describing to me is a company.
Yeah, it's a company. We have very strict structures and processes, and we do things no different than other companies. So.
But do you think you have to treat NGOs and also as an entrepreneurship, as a company, if you want to have an impact?
I think so, yeah. I think it helps to have a certain organizational structure, professionalism, communications. So I think it doesn't really differ if you sell something to a customer or you sell something to the state, for example. So why not? Why treat it so different? So yeah.
Your approach was not idealistic, let's say like that. I think you treated it very serious from the get-go.
I think that certainly helped our impact, I would say, because also with like. If you come across very professional and if you deliver what you promised, then it makes a difference. And
And what did you underestimate at the beginning while building the company?
So many things. How much time, I would say, all these company internal things take on. So, for example, not only staff meetings, but the development of staff, for example, the training of staff, the different troubles they might have with a task, or I don't know. So also very employer topics that cost me a lot of time. They are necessary, and it's also good to spend a lot of time with your team so that it's trained in the right way, I would say. But yeah, I'm troubleshooting a lot. I'm always the firewoman in the company, dealing with internal crisis, for example, or something that just came up or happens. What did I underestimate as well? Maybe how much you yourself need how much you need to regulate yourself, because you need to lead yourself, and you need to be in a good shape and in a good mindset to lead other people. And we lead a team, we lead volunteers, we lead children, so that the bridge goes on. So if I'm grumpy and if I'm grumpy and I tell my employee that they made a mistake, they would be grumpy with the volunteers, they would be grumpy with the kids. So that can't happen. So you can't be grumpy, and you have to regulate yourself, for example. And it takes time, it takes effort, it takes a certain mindset. And also what I underestimated is how much growing pain you experienced during all of that. Because, of course, going from a small founding team to doing it myself for a while, to hiring a team, to developing the team, to scaling to new locations, that all comes with some growing pains and learnings that you probably didn't see coming your way, and those are sometimes very painful learnings and very also costly learnings, and you make mistakes, and all of that is, I think, very important for your journey and for your development and for the development of an organization, and to maybe not make certain mistakes again. But it's also quite intense, and that I think I underestimated it a bit.
Are you proud of yourself?
I'm proud of myself. Yeah, I would say I'm proud of myself, but I'm also I get a lot of visibility, and I get a lot of awards and stuff like that. And it's not only me. It's like I feel like, of course, it was my idea, and it's also for a part, it was my sweat and tears and blood on the way. But by now, it's not only me. It's the whole team, the volunteers, the youth leaders. We also have this great program where we train former participants to youth leaders that they themselves become volunteers. So we train over 200 kids. So all of them together are building the Hobby Lobby ecosystem and the Hobby Lobby impact, I would say. It's not me only, so I'm proud of me, but I'm also proud of everyone who supports this idea.
It's wonderful, but you have also built a system, so you can be double proud for that.
Thank you.
And yeah, I don't know. You have such a good feeling about yourself. You're radiating such a positive energy, and I think that's also very important in the things you're doing.
I think it helps to have that mindset. It doesn't help to, because we want to achieve a of course, if you look at it like this, you can look at the problem because the problem is very unjust, and you can look at the injustice, and you can be sad about it, and you can be angry about it, and you can get frustrated about it, and you can put your head in the sand and say like, okay, this is all horrible, and the world, of course, has some horrible aspects at the moment, but you can also look at it from the other side and see the potential of where you can go and what could you change. And sometimes I think it's very important that we are, as a collective, not giving up on everything, because we can change so many things, and all of us combined could make a huge impact. And there are so many things that have great developments, so why not look at them and focus on them, because that gives you strength to go through the dark times, maybe.
Yeah. And do you plan to ever write a book?
Oh, actually, when I was a child, I wanted to be an author. So I would love that.
Somewhere in your life cycle, you go back to the childhood dreams.
Really? Yeah, I don't know. I would love to. I think it would make it would be fun. To be totally fair, I have 2 tiny daughters who are 1 and 4. I have a 40 to 60 working hours a week that I have to fit somewhere, mostly nights. So at the moment, it's very unrealistic to put anything else on the plate.
People always underestimate how much the private life also is important for the entrepreneurship, and that when you come home, you also have a private life, you know.
Yeah, my private life is mostly afternoons during these days, and I try to spend those with my kids after their kindergarten time. But of course, this is very important, and also for your mental health. And I think those 2 tiny humans, they also chill me down, because when you have children, you need to be more regulated than ever. You need to I don't know, if you're not calm and you're not in your middle, then they feel that, and then everything gets a bit shaky and everything gets a bit wild. So I need to be in a good shape also to take care of my daughters, and so that also helps me for the Hobby Lobby, because then I'm constantly just calmer and more relaxed. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And do you think we like to believe we live in a fair system in general, even if we don't?
No, I think we're not. It's not really a fair system. No. But I think we can all together achieve that it maybe becomes a bit fairer each day. So. Yeah.
And where do you think society is being a bit naive right now? I mean, we talked a bit about it, like education is very underrated right now.
Yeah. So many aspects, I would say. Also, like the climate crisis is barely a topic any longer at the moment. So why are we not looking at the crisis? And why can't we, I don't know, build bolder ideas on how to change the most urgent developments of our society? Because if we no longer take care of our planet, we probably will not have a planet for long. So and if we're not taking better care of our children, then we probably have a society that will be very torn, very radicalized. So there are so many problems at the moment. But I think that also the world is sometimes going in these circles and in these waves of going like back and forth a bit, and struggling with all of this, what is happening. So at the moment the whole society leans a bit to the right, is a bit more radicalized, feels the pressure, feels the inflation, like everything is a bit tougher at the moment. And I think it also from economic side of view, it will ease its way back to in a few years, I think. But we as a society and every individual within the society, we need a plan, and we need to start building on what we want to achieve, and how, maybe also on the mindset and on the vision of how it should I would say I would put it like that.
There's actually a very powerful quote. I don't know who said it, but if you want to predict the future, look at the past.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
And I had a conversation lately with someone from the investment spectrum, and it gave me a little bit of a shock about how the startup ecosystem, the world is evolving, because the person told me that venture capital, for example, is investing less money into medical startups, into health startups, into energy startups right now. I mean, energy maybe is still going good, but when they see a return on investment in maybe 10 or 15 years, they just don't have the money to invest those now, because the access goes lower, the revenues go down, and they have to fund like their current portfolio. Which is why the startups the solutions that we need the most are the ones that typically get the least amount of funding. Yeah. It's all about AI now.
Yeah, that's also challenging, I think, in a way, because we can't just look at the next year.
Yeah.
If you want to run long, you have to, like, if you want to run a marathon, you have to have the goal in sight. So I think there needs to happen, a shift needs to happen, and change of mindset needs to happen in those areas. Also because a lot of people ask me of the lack of funding. Yeah. And of course there's lack of funding, but it's not a lack of money. Yeah. It's a lack of priority, because there is so much money in the world. We print money. It's insane. It's just it's systems and rules that are made up by people, and it's a decision where I spend money on. I often see politicians making decisions, and in 5 minutes it's okay. Then of course there's money for that because it's important, but that's a way of what you feel like is important. That's your priorities. It's not a lack of funding. And of course we need to, I don't know, at the moment the budget in Austria is a bit tricky, and of course we need to reduce our spendings. We could also, I don't know, have some more earnings for the state, have some taxes that maybe tax the rich, for example. I don't know. There are solutions, and it's always a case of, do I want to? And not a case of, can I? I would say. Yeah. And so I tend to argue with people a lot about the funding issue. And I just don't see it not happening. It's just that, do you want the problem to go away? Then deal with it, and then maybe fund it.
That's a wonderful quote. And let's go to the rapid fire questions.
Oh no!
So short answers.
Yeah.
Very precise. So what's one thing people take for granted?
Education.
One uncomfortable truth about inequality.
It can happen. It can happen. No, let's do that again. It can happen early. It starts early.
And what's one decision you made that changed everything?
Starting a business.
What's one trait every person needs?
Empathy.
Beautiful. If you could whisper one sentence to your younger self, what would it be?
I think it would be, what's the worst that can happen? Just do it.
And what's one question you would like to ask but haven't been asked by me?
I think you asked beautiful questions.
Thank you very much.
I think we covered quite a variety of topics. Can I ask you a question?
Sure, go for it.
What would you do to change society? What is something that you want to see, or where do you want to see a change for our society in the future?
I mean, you mentioned empathy, which is very good. I would like if the people would be more curious.
Yeah.
Because everyone thinks they know it. I mean, not everyone, but we tend to generalize a lot of things. We tend to, with time, more go into black and white thinking, not recognizing that there are so many gray areas.
And colors.
And colors. That we are not fixed people, that we can change, we can evolve, even with age. I mean, I'm also 27, and I read once a quote that after 25, it's very difficult to change your character, but for me, sorry, it's bullshit.
That's bullshit. You just need to have a growth mindset about things, then you can adapt until you're 80.
But I think when you're curious, you also become a better person.
That's true.
So that is what
Beautiful.
I would like to
Cool.
implement to the world.
So we need more curious and empathetic people around.
I agree. Especially in politics,
Yeah.
Because I think empathy and curiosity are missing. We tend to see everything very short frame solutions. COVID had a huge impact, in my opinion, on that. Because also before COVID, I was looking in the future and I thought I knew how my next 10 years would look like.
And now you don't know anything anymore.
Exactly. I was an entrepreneur, you see it the next 3 or 6 months and you have a plan how it should go, but you know exactly this plan won't be executed.
Probably won't be executed, yeah.
Like that. And I think that injected also a lot of fear into parents, the children. I don't know how I would feel when I would be a student right now.
That's true.
Because future doesn't look certain anymore.
Yeah.
How do I evolve? There's so many things that I think young people are dealing with, and I don't know. We haven't mentioned that topic, but it's a very important one. I mean, mental health.
It's a huge topic at the moment. Yeah.
It's very difficult. As the rates where young people need support is rising, but also this is very costly.
Yeah. All the more it's important to have support for those children. And to support them with people that are around and that care for them and that they, do hobbies with them.
Wish you all the best for the future. I really hope that you will have an impact over the whole Europe and over the whole world. I think it needs more of your empathy.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much.